Do this before you spend all that money on a Motion Pro setup. What's going on, YouTube? It's IEM coming at you again with another production on the CBR 1K. So what's going on today? Today is a very simple, valuable, or invaluable adjustment that I want to say to your throttle. Whether you have a liter bike or whether you're still on a 600 or a 750, it does not matter. The benefits are insane. So today I'm going to show you the MotoGP style throttle adjustment. It's inexpensive. All you need is a pair of pliers. If you don't have a pair of pliers, buddy, we're going to have a talk, because anybody with a bike should have a toolkit, and toolkits usually come with these. So how do we do the MotoGP throttle adjustment? And first and foremost, what are these advantages and benefits that I'm talking about? Well, one, if you know anything about MotoGP bikes, starting with the throttle, working your way back, the throttles have no free play in it. Now, what is free play? Well, let me go ahead and crack this nut open and we'll show you exactly what free play is. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing right now in just a moment, so don't think that I'm moving too fast. Just stay with me. Free play is this little bit of wiggle room that you have when you buy your bike stock. So if you have any bike aside from a BMW S1000RR, whether it be the base, the premium, or the HP4, if you have any bike aside from that particular bike, like my CBR 1K, your bike came just like this. And I guarantee you that if you haven't made any throttle adjustment to your bike, if you go out to your bike and wiggle your throttle, it's gonna feel like this. Now the question is, why don't you want free play, and why don't MotoGP bikes have free play? Well, there's one simple answer to that question, and it's connection between the rider and the bike. And I'll say that again, it's connection between the rider and the bike. The reason you want to have that tight, firm connection between the rider and the bike is because you don't want any lag here. You want to know that every time your hand is on this throttle, it's accessing power. It's not having to pivot a little bit and then access power. It's getting straight to the power off the rip. That's the reason you don't want this little wiggle. Every time you're going to take off from the line, you have to make this small minor wrist adjustment from here to here before you even access the power. Now the reason that's a problem is because it causes a delay in your takeoff. Now why would you want this on a street bike? Well, I'm going to go ahead and sell you on this one little fact. The fact that you'll have a better connection between yourself, you and the bike, means that when you're downshifting, your rev matching will be that much more crisp, because you're not going to have to worry about any delay or making any positive or negative adjustments in your throttle, or at least the way you're accessing the throttle and power on your bike, because you'll have a better connection with your machine. So what am I doing here? Most bikes, CBR 1000RRs, Gixxer 1000s, and Gixxer 1000Rs, Yamaha R1s, and Kawasaki's all have this in just about the same place, aside from the Gixxers and the Yamahas. I think it's actually underneath the handlebar, so you may have to take off the brake lever to get to it, or finagle some kind of way to get back there to loosen it up. But it's all basically the same exact setup. You have this one little lock washer or lock nut here that is going to keep this main bolt from from moving, which is again going to be what tightens and loosens up this right here, your throttle cable. So you'll move this nut, and it's just like a bolt, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So if you're going left, that means you're loosening up your throttle. If you're going right, that means you're tightening up your throttle. So we want to keep on going right. We don't want to go left at all. We just want to go right until our hearts are content. So I'm gonna keep on twisting this bad boy, and then I'm gonna check. And I can feel right here, there's absolutely no free play in this throttle. You hear that every time? Just my index finger and my thumb. Click, click, click. It's right there. It's at the power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock up this little nut right here. So after you've gotten that tightened up, again, check it. Make sure there's no free play left in your throttle. And then the most important part of this is to test. You want to crank up your bike. Make sure it's in neutral. So your bike is on now. Once your bike is on, you want to turn your handlebars to the far left, turn your handlebars to the far right, and then straighten your handlebars back up. And you want to go ahead and give it a couple revs as well. A slow rev first. Then you want to give it a quick rev. Yum. Yum. Yum, yum. Now the purpose for that quick little test is, one, when you turn your handlebars to the far left or you turn your handlebars to the far right, you're putting pressure on these cables. And when you put pressure on these cables, that can cause your throttle to respond at a time when you don't want your throttle to respond, such as low speed maneuvers. So if you're making a U-turn in a parking lot or at a green light or maneuvering through traffic, if your cables are too tight, when you turn these handlebars, that's going to open up your throttle more than you're intending to, and that can cause for a day that's probably not going to go as planned. Your bike may do a backflip while you're still sitting on the ground, so we don't want things like that to happen. So if you're going to make this adjustment, make sure that you crank your bike up, turn to the left and to the right, straighten it back up, and give it a couple of revs. The reason you want to give it a couple of revs, and the first rev being slow and then releasing, is that you want to make sure that your throttle's not sticking. Because again, if you tighten this up a little bit too much, it'll actually cause your throttle to stick. I mean, and nobody wants that to happen. So make sure that you do that test afterwards. And again, the benefits that you will see by this small little adjustment are ridiculous. I promise. Having more access and a better connection to the power, being able to time your rev matching and not having to look at the RPM gauge every time you want to downshift, you'll be able to feel where the power band is at on the bike at all times much more realistically. It will eliminate at least 50% of the amount of wrist adjustments you have to make while you're riding, and I guarantee that. I can speak from personal experience on that. I guarantee you it's good as gold, but that's it. I got a couple of projects coming up towards the end of the summer for my CBR1 case. I want you guys to tune in, get involved. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.